Banks are quote unquote failing slash evolving. Banking is failing slash evolving. Economics is failing slash evolving. Religion is failing slash evolving. Unity is becoming stronger, but yes, some people have fear and their fear is becoming stronger. All these things are good. Okay. So, what is no one telling you about these end times? Okay. The end times is the end of time. Okay. In my previous video, I was talking about the recent news about Thai lawsuits. Um, what else? Banks, Ponzi schemes. I was giving you very non-biased lights and shadows of these things. But behind all these things, there was one truth that was reverberating behind it all, and that it's all made up. All of it is made up. And just as it is made up, you can make it up. People still make it up. Tribes, communities, microeconomies still make up their own life, make up their own systems. Now, the end of time and the end times, okay, also means the end of calculated, created, calculated time. The time it takes for people to, for example, gain access to quote unquote money, quote unquote credit that is already available to them. The time it takes for people to realize that all these economic things are made up. The time it takes for people to realize that no religion is above any other. The time it takes to realize that no species is more important or less than the other. All the time it takes for people to get to these realizations, that is ending. You know what's so funny? I am reminded of how when several years ago someone introduced me to the concept of crypto, and then when it came several years after on the news and well on virtual internet news, it felt like I entered a black hole. I'm like, I've been here. Something feels like I've been here because I've always, for a long time since my birth, we have that purity that's like, oh, life is great, life is simple, there's no over complexity, it is abundant. But then we were introduced to all these over complexities, right? And then suddenly here comes the reintroduction, as I would say, to the world of crypto. And funny enough, much about what the world of crypto do is very much similar to the very existence of the private sector of business, banking, finance, and biz entrepreneurship and accounting. Hmm, very familiar, like a singularity, like a convergence. Okay. So what no one is telling you about the end of times is that it doesn't mean doom and gloom. It only means doom and gloom for those who are disconnected from the divine realm, which is Earth. Okay. That's what no one's telling you. The end of times doesn't mean the end of life. If we're going to summarize it like this: the end of times does not mean the end of life. Some people think the end of times means the end of life. No, it does not. No, it does not. The end of times does not mean the end of life. The end of times means the end of how we have been going about life, or how certain people have been going about life. Okay, but hey, we all have some some input in there, some output as well. Okay, we've all been influenced by the constructs. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Okay, so the end of times does not mean the end of life. It just means it's the end of how we go about life. Life is abundant. Life is infinite. You have building a skill that Building upon a skill and an ability, even an athletic ability, takes quote unquote time. Okay. Building or upon a craft, an ability to craft something or an art takes time, and it's a beautiful process. It's a process. Okay. A process of progress. To progress. If we look up the etymology of process, the etymology of process is a course, progression, kind of like music. You have progression of chords. Now, if we look at the etymology of progress, the progress etymology is forward, to walk, and we can associate walking with movement. Okay. And what is energy always doing? Energy is in motion. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just is, and it's in motion. Even when it's still, there is potential, and that potential is in motion. And even that stillness is a form of motion, because stillness is a action of inaction. So there is an in between. And this is what we call the walk between light and shadow. This is what we call the walk between positive and negative. This is the holy, the sacred balance. This is the structure, the middle pillar between the expressions, the neutral position of the protons and the electrons, right? Yeah. Okay. This is grace, not as in religion, but grace as in gracefulness. So if we look at gracefulness etymology, grace comes from the old French grace, favor, esteem, a pleasing quality. Okay? And what is nature? When we're out in nature, nature is what? Very pleasing. It has a very calm, pleasing quality to our being, doesn't it? When we look at animals, there is a grace to them, isn't it? When we, as I mentioned in my videos, when we look at how they treat all energies from the root to the crown, how they treat your energy from the root to the crown, what do we see? There is a grace. There is a pleasing, not in the sense of a pleasure, because I know some people immediately start jumping into that. There is a pleasing in the sense of a calming, a sense of at easeness. So that's what the end of times is. And we know that the end of times is not the end of life, because life, you cannot end life. Life is life. Okay? And those who have been through ego deaths or on the verge of death and have seen the other side, if you have seen an other side, isn't that an indicator of life? So then, what is this illusion created with fear that traps people in this loop that creates an artificial time zone or an artificial bubble of time or an experience of time? It's made up. It's all made up. And it is, as many will say, a shadow side of individuals, whether human or not. But there's also a light. So, how do we break these loops? Okay. How do you find your balance, that inner peace? You have to allow yourself to embrace both the light and the shadow, the ups and the downs, the positive and the negative. And when you can see the beauty behind it, then you're able to shatter the extremes that people are stuck in, and how those extremes have manifested into economies, structures, financial systems, complications. See, that is success right there, y'all. Because the very fact that I'm here, yes, this was created by someone, okay? But for those who will say, well, you're using a device or you're using an area that was, structured by someone with those shadows, maybe. I'm like, yeah, but that again, if you heard me well, that does not mean that the shadow didn't have a light. Obviously, this is a light, okay? Yeah, there can be shadows, just like there are actual light and shadows present here, okay? Look, my face. There's a shadow right there. Duh. That doesn't mean there isn't a neutral position here. That doesn't mean there isn't an energy of neutrality here, especially with nature. However, while some may refer to the structure, and while some may refer to this construct called this device, I, of course, refer to the nature present around me, the tree above me. This tree. No, I mean, this one's good too. That was not created by human. Maybe a human may have placed it, but that was the divine. That is the divine that creates that. And we are part of that divine. We are part of that divinity. So, what should you have gained and learned in summary from this video? The end of times is the end of constructed time, artificial time, not the end of life. I'm gonna end it because there's noise now, so or maybe we'll just wait till the noise passes. Namaste, y'all. Peace.